Hey, Mission Teens people, Mission Teens overseers, Mission Bible Training Center residents, and all you people who are wise about the afterlife and the parallel realm. All you need is a good story. All you need is your personal story. Yeshua took care of the rest of the problem. Now look, life sucks. Life is a very difficult thing. And if you haven't pictured the difficulties of the fact that you have human family that is enormously suffering right now. You have human family that's really, really in a tragedy right now. And that's part of your life, whether you acknowledge it or not. Okay? So, my buddy Jim Bracken, near the end of his life, he kept saying, life sucks and then you die. And it actually points toward the value of the afterlife, and it points toward an interest in the spirit realm and the parallel realm where stuff is going on that human minds cannot fully comprehend. If you think that you can stomp Satan under your feet, be careful. Because you're dealing with enormous spirit beings that run entire nations, media structures, power brokers. You have no idea how powerful the elements that are controlling many things in this world are. So all you really need is your testimony. You gotta be able to point out your crisis. Hi, I was a crisis pregnancy conceived by two outrageously fun pleasure givers. They were just fun people, great musicians, scholars, good dancers. They loved music. And they were fooling around and enjoying the pleasure, and I was conceived. But hey, one of those people was married, and that's a problem. That ended up causing a tragedy, a crisis. I was a crisis pregnancy. I didn't even know about that until I was 25 years old. My story is very interesting. I was adopted in the womb. I was at the wedding 5 months along. A really nice guy that had a little touch of Jesus in his heart decided, I'm going to marry this cute lady who's pregnant and we're just going to start a family. So I was rescued. I was rescued. But it was all kept a secret because everybody was all worried and nervous, and nobody has a comfortable way about talking about the flow and the feel good and the fact that sexual pleasure is it's a therapy. It's a physical therapy for humans. It feels really good. It's just a nice part of life. You know, sexual pleasure is a beautiful physical therapy that everybody, every child should be able to grow up in and enjoy. And then on the other hand, Jesus of Nazareth showed up and showed that he was more interested in humans who have problems. And he said, I came into this cosmos to go from town to town, implying to touch and interact with as many humans as possible. So you and I are supposed to be imitating that. Now, if you're not a male human being, you cannot fully imitate being a Jesus because he was a man. So if you're a female human being, you are called to be supporting men who are behaving like Jesus of Nazareth. Look in Luke chapter 8. You've got Jesus and 12 guys living on one bank account, and prominent, serious, wise women are supporting those guys and what they're doing. That's why a few people in my life choose to support me, because I've been at this doing the Jesus stuff for 30 years now, observing the churches, looking at the problems, relearning the ways that we're supposed to be church. So you people, overseers, tell them your testimony makes a refreshment. Your testimony brings a life change. Your testimony brings good energy to the people. Why? Because it leads them into the practices that Jesus taught. Remember, true ecclesia, true church, is a closed private meeting in a home, not in an auditorium or an institution. True ecclesia is a closed private meeting in a home where the men are honest about everything, just like in the former covenant. The men prayed for the world every day with a collection of 10 men, and the men were honest about any time they had a flow of seed for whatever reason. If it's in the marriage bed or in an inappropriate relationship, they're letting the people know, I'm untouchable right now. Regardless of why there's a flow of seed, the men are being courageous and saying, I'm untouchable right now. That's an amazing thing. I mean, that is a community social practice for only the people that are following God. Those people, the Jewish people, they didn't even eat with others. They were following a code. They were following a set of precepts that came straight from the supernatural place. The law is not just a bunch of rules and regulations. It is the mastermind ideas of a wonderful father mind who knows how crazy humans are now that all the bad spirits are basically ruling over. The powerful bad spirits are ruling over all of the world. And that ain't gonna stop.
I like your van.
Thank you. It likes you.
It's super cool.
If you investigate Grandpa Honesty Guy YouTube, I work with 20 rehab centers around the country, and I'm constantly posting like crazy encouragement for people who have had disastrous lives and are in the midst of big troubles.
And what's it called?
Grandpa Honesty Guy. If you just Google Grandpa Honesty Guy, you get a snowstorm of TikTok and that's my little logo.
Very cute.
And I travel around the country and I work with 20 rehab centers. I never had any kids of my own.
Okay.
And I was a world traveling intellectual for many years. And I got this weird God wake up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I should have been the daddy. I'm the funnest freaking daddy on the block. So now I'm literally like dad to many people.
I love that. What's your name?
My name is David Jeremiah Bowden. And
I'm Reagan. Nice to meet you.
And the kids call me Grandpa Jeremiah.
Grandpa Jeremiah.
So are you an employee here now?
I am, yes.
Oh, cool. Well, I'm here from time to time.
Okay.
When I'm not in Sedalia, Missouri, or Maine, or New Jersey, or...
I love Maine. I've been to Maine twice.
What part?
Portland, Freeport, Bar Harbor, some of the Bangor, all of them.
Okay. Find Swans Island.
Swans Island, okay.
And find Monhegan.
Okay.
Monhegan is 26 miles out. And there's this amazing hotel, which is an amazing gathering of people.
Wow.
I mean, it's just like, it's this rock way out there. And like to spend 2 days on Monhegan is like going to another part of the world.
Okay. I'll look it up. I've been there twice. I have a tattoo for the Portland headlight.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I need to send you my video at the Portland headlight.
I would love to see that.
I do this like funky prayer in the spirit thing with the rumbling rocks and the surf at the same time. I love.
Do you do that through social media or like?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just want me to follow your social media and you'll send it to me that way?
Yeah. Or I'll give you a business card, and you can just send me a text.
Sounds like
And
a
I will
plan.
send you a specific video of the Portland headlight. Since you're wearing Portland headlight on you, that is so freaking cool.
It is one of my good friends. I say good friends. She was a lot older than me. She was my minister in church when I was younger for my
Okay.
youth.
Come on.
And we had the same birthday, and we were supposed to go to Maine together and eat lobster, but she passed away before we could go. She had breast cancer, and so the year after she passed, my mom took me to go. I didn't really want to because I said that like it was something I wanted to do with just her, but my mom took me anyway, and I had a lot of spiritual like confirmation that she was there.
Well,
with
so
me.
you went on an adventure without your friend.
Yep.
You went to Maine anyway.
And then what the crazy part about that is, Grandpa Jeremiah, is that I recently just went back for my 23rd birthday, which was this last June, and I had the craziest experience. It's almost every time I go, she knows she's with me because I'll tell you this, and you can go. I flew by myself for the first time, and I have really bad flight anxiety.
You flew by yourself.
I
Whoa.
flew by myself. I went with a friend, but he had to take another flight, so I flew all by myself. And on the plane, as it took off, I was sitting in the middle seat. I was scared to death. Said my prayers, did it all. I always have terrible, terrible anxiety. So the guy next to me to my right, he was in the aisle seat. He was like, "Sweetie, are you all right?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "This is my first time flying by myself, but this scares me." So throughout the whole thing, he was telling me that like I used to fly all the time for my work. So if I'm not worried, you shouldn't be worried. If I look worried, then you should be worried. So if the turbulence hits and it's a little rocky, just look at me, and if I look like I'm all right, it'll be okay. So it got little rocky, and so like he kind of included me in his games that he was playing. He was trying to distract me from the plane bobbling all over the air, and so at the end of it, like we were landing, and I was telling him a little bit how I never mentioned her name. I just said I was going back in remembrance of somebody that passed away that I love so dearly, and he was like, "Oh, that's wonderful." And I asked him, I said, "I've been talking to you this whole time. What is your name?" And he was like, "Terry." That was the lady's name that passed away.
Wow. Okay, now you are doing something for me
Yeah.
that's scary, and you don't even know it yet.
Why?
Okay? I got married on Swans Island, Maine in 1985. And like I was like, me and my people were polyamorous players. We weren't really like monogamous people, right?
Mhm.
And but I just decided at one point, I feel like I need to be married sometime in life, and I can't picture being married to anybody except for this one close friend that I've been with since high school, on and off, like together and apart and together and stuff like that. And we got married on Swans Island, Maine, and the little fishermen and the people on the island were like, "We don't know anyone who's ever gotten married that isn't from on here."
That's cool.
And so it was a really special thing. Like they all came out and they celebrated our marriage. Like all these island people came out and they blessed us, you know?
That's so awesome.
And then we got divorced years later, and that was many, many years ago. But my wife is an amazing person. She is like PhD in English literature. She
Wow.
teaches people how to express their hearts and to saturate in other literature and bring out your voice. And she was an only child, and she's kind of used to being in her own little world. And over the years, we've talked about, like, we should probably just move to Maine and live the rest of our lives up there, right? So, like, I'm doing all this Jesus freaky, like, faith-based rehab center stuff, and I work with foster and adoption homes, and I'm like nonstop, like, singing and worship and teaching kids how to bang on a drum and, like, drop the wisdom and tell your testimony, like. And I was a crisis pregnancy. I mean, my pregnancy was two parents who were outrageously wonderful pleasure givers, but one of them was married, so the conception didn't work out too good.
Yeah.
And a guy came along and adopted me in the womb. He was like, let's just have a family.
Wow.
So I grew up with a daddy, and they didn't even tell me that I was adopted in the womb until I was 25.
Wow.
And my parents were like the funnest parents on the block, but they never told me. I'm like, why did you guys wait so long? You must have been going through hell, like da-da-da-da-da. So I had this crisis pregnancy, and then I was totally inhabited by the friendly sex pleasure spirits, like, through 40 years. I mean, I'm talking about 40 years of life. I was like a happy arousal addict wanting to share with anybody. And then when God crashed in on me, like, my life transition was, I mean, I was in a state of horror and fascination of, like, oh no, I don't even want you to be real. This is crazy. I don't like you, and I don't like your book. I don't like your churches. I don't like your people. Why are you letting me know that you're real? Like, this is ridiculous. And he actually spoke to me.
Yeah, there's different gifts that the Holy Spirit gives you.
Right, and this is what he said. He said, don't worry about all that negative stuff that you've done. It will all be used as trophies.
Yep.
Because you will have the guts to talk about all of it.
To the people who need to hear it.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And he used the term trophies. And, like, I wouldn't have come up with that. That was actually from God. He used the word trophies. All of your trash will be used as trophies.
I love that.
Because you will chit-chat about each stupid thing.
Yep.
And how you want to think twice and maybe not do that.
What I like about it is that, like, everybody, like, some people are really scared to tell their story, but I know, like, from my experience, that there are people out there who need to hear your story, who are just like you, or who are in the same shoes you were in and don't know what to do, like what their next steps are. Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, and here's even the bigger game. When at that moment in April 1994, when God crashed in on me, I said to him, damn it, they didn't teach me, like, about you. They didn't even teach me how to talk to you. Like, I bet there's a ton of stuff that they could have said to me as a child. Like, I bet you anything that I'm like, you need to make me into the daddy that I needed when I was like 4, 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
You need to make me into the daddy. Okay, so for the past 30 years, I've been learning really creative, fun ways of putting every spiritual principle into goofy, childlike terms that a child actually does understand.
I love that.
And I mean, since my parents were so afraid of talking about the whole sex, pleasure, power thing, which is an ordinary part of life. I mean, one of my things is I'm working up this presentation of, like, hey, we need to talk with the kids about the flow and the feel good. The flow of the woman is different than the flow of the man.
Yeah.
And that's something that makes us very different. But the pleasure of the woman and the pleasure of the man is an awesome thing. And recently, in the past 2 days, he said, I want you to describe sexual pleasure as a physical therapy for everybody that just makes you feel better because you're hugged and loved and appreciated, and it just makes you comforted. And then when we think our friend Yeshua that walked on the earth, he actually didn't enjoy the pleasure that he designed for us because he was so worried about humans. He said, I came into this cosmos to go from town to town, implying to touch and interact with as many humans as possible before I have to go away. So that's my life now. It's like imitating him. Like, I just got, like, am I in the right place? Do you need me? And he's like, okay, now here's the point. Many months ago, like maybe 6 or 8 months ago, I mean, I'm pretty estranged from my wife, and we've been through all kinds of stuff, and I don't really expect us to ever be remarried. But I love that person more every day. Like, we had so many, I mean, we were world travelers. We went to Russia when we were 16. We toured Europe on trains. We lived in San Francisco for 4 years during the punk scene. We lived in London and Brighton and New York City for 4 or 5 years, and we traveled back and forth across the country taking pictures of old style diners and weird old roadside things, like way back in the 70s and 80s. And so we have like this photographic legacy, and we're kind of famous to a lot of people as like this cool couple that travels around and takes pictures, right? And so, like, I'm talking to God. I'm busy with all kinds of people and crisis lives and all this kind of stuff, but like, I care about this person. Out of the blue, God says to me, you're going to set up a place in Maine in March. I'm like, what? I mean, that was like 8 months ago. I'm like, well, I don't really have the resources for that, and I'm not sure how to start. And then he says March 15th. And for you to show me a tattoo of the freaking Portland Head Light is confirmation.
Yeah.
And I'm scared.
Why?
Well, because my van is literally coming apart. It needs $2,000 worth of repair.
I think that if you just keep praying about it, that God will provide you the necessities that you need to get to where you need to be. If he's telling you that's where you need to go, he'll give you the resources to go.
Right.
I mean,
well, and also, I'm a sailor. I was a sailboat racer for years. I was a sailboat rigger, and I sold sailboats in Annapolis and New York and Philly, and I have this dream of setting up a home base in Tarpon Springs and in Blue Hill Bay, and having a Grandpa Honesty Guy sailing school for families and kids in Florida and in Maine.
wow.
And it's a freaking pie in the sky, like, impossible idea.
I don't know. I
But
think you can do it.
but for you to walk up to me and show me a tattoo of Portland Head Light, I'm like, damn it. Okay, man.
You're
All right.
like, all right.
All right,
let's
you're
get it
giving me
done."
confirmation.
Well, it was nice meeting you.
You too. Say your name again?
Reagan.
Reagan. All right, I'll see you around the Anytime Fitness Hut sometime.
Okay. See you later.
Peace. All right, that was an example of testimony. I've never had a situation like that happen to me in the midst of a video, but hey, it's the day after my birthday, and I'm hot with new ideas. Come on. Okay, again, to you, Mission Bible Training Center overseers, you got to tell these people, all you need is your crazy crisis testimony. They were saved by the blood of the Lamb. Jesus already did all that work. But a lot of people forgot how to do church. Church is a group of people coming together, challenging the male human beings to be honest about anything, including the pleasure and the flow, and whether there's anything wrong going on in the fantasy or desire department. That proves to the women and the children that the men are actually open-hearted before God and before people. But that's a closed meeting. Your auditorium meetings are fine. You learn a lot of stuff in an auditorium. But you need a group of people that are completely solid, naked, honest. And that is a thing that Jim Bracken did not teach because he had not gotten to that level. I am the second wave. He prayed over me basically on his deathbed and asked God to give me the power to go forward and do things. And I took the challenge. I mean, God said to me, the Mission Teens organization is the only church institution organization that you're allowed to be heavily aligned with. Now, I have some programs and plans like the Family Honesty Church, which is a way of blessing the standard big box church pastors and giving them a program that sends people home to do true ecclesia and have honesty times and communion in a way where there's a total outline of how the early church functioned. So we can function with auditorium church, big box church, and also true ecclesia, home honesty church that supports singleness. If you're going to be single, walking single like Jesus, you need regular communion or you're going to go crazy. The regular communion touches your soul and your longings, and it touches your physical body. It's a supernatural refreshment, communion is. And Jim Bracken's communion was basically ice cream and pretzels at the yearly gatherings. And it's important that we need to move on and be teachers in the centers. We need to be teaching people about how to handle yourself if you leave the center. And even if you leave before your diploma, God forbid.